Hey everybody, and welcome to another segment of AstrologyAnswers.com's weekly forecast. My name is Terence Gardino. Well, the week begins on Monday, June the 20th, with the moon that sets the public tone in more sensitive, creative Pisces, and the moon will align with Neptune, the planet associated with Pisces. So once a month, when the moon aligns with Neptune, this will be around noon, early afternoon, Pacific Daylight Time. It can trigger more compassion, charity, creativity. Later in the afternoon, maybe 4 p.m., 6 p.m. approximately, now this sensitive, caring moon will be in harmony with loving, creative Venus, making for a lovely evening for hanging with friends, going out to dinner. But for artists, you may be more inclined to express yourself creatively. And if you are a performer, you might be feeling really good about if you're recording or you are playing a gig that evening. And then on Tuesday, the 21st, very important day. It's the first day of summer, the summer solstice in the northern latitudes. If you're in the southern latitudes, it's the first day of winter. Now, it's also the first day on the 21st that the sun enters into the sign of Cancer for the next 4 weeks. The last 4 weeks, the sun has been in Gemini. Gemini is more curious, restless, more talkative, whereas when the sun is in Cancer, it's more family-oriented, more reflective, more nurturing, more of those qualities of Cancer. But Venus, the planet of love and creativity, will be in harmony with deepening, intense Pluto on the 21st. And Venus in harmony with Pluto can help us all feel more connected. It can awaken more intimacy and passion in the love life. And for artists, you may be feeling more inspired. Plus, the moon will be in Aries as we start Tuesday. And by mid-afternoon Pacific time, the moon will cross over Jupiter. The moon is our public reactions. Jupiter is this optimism, expansiveness. But you may also be feeling this restlessness with the moon in fiery Aries to travel, to begin your summer vacation plans in the northern latitudes. On Wednesday, the moon it continues in Aries, but it's going to cross over Mars around noon, early afternoon, Pacific time. Mars is the warrior planet. Mars is ambitious, impulsive, assertive. Mars is also the planet associated with Aries. So the moon's in Aries, it's aligning with Mars that rules Aries. And so a lot can be accomplished, a lot of courage, taking action. The other thing is the following Tuesday on the 28th of June will be a new moon. And one of the general rules of thumb in astrology is when the moon is in the last week prior to a new moon, it is a winding down or a bringing closure to what was set in motion with the previous new moon in Gemini. And that would have been about 3 weeks ago. So overall, this is best to wait until next week to launch any major important new projects because the energy overall is winding down and bringing closure. Next week, it's winding up and moving forwards. Thursday, the moon will be in calming, steady Taurus, and by mid-afternoon Pacific time, will be in harmony with the Cancer sun. Cancer's a water sign. When the moon is in Taurus, Taurus is an earth sign. Earth and water is very compatible. And so, mid-afternoon Pacific time, this can be overall a more comfortable day, but also very family-oriented, since the moon rules family and the sun is in Cancer. Cancer's the family-oriented sign. On Friday, as the moon continues in steady, determined, persevering Taurus, it's going to cross over awakening, liberating, sometimes shocking Uranus once a month. This will be mid-afternoon Pacific Daylight Time. This could indicate overall some exciting emotional reactions. It could also be really favorable as a good time to get out of an old rut, try something new, maybe break a limiting habit that's holding you back, or just getting out of the same old routine and doing something more interesting, shaking things up. And it would also be for going into a Friday evening. That moon Uranus is doing something completely different. Uranus also rules friendships and group activities. So you may be inclined to hang out with friends or participate in some type of a group activity on Friday evening. Saturday, the moon continues in Taurus, and by noon Pacific time into early afternoon, the moon in harmony with Pluto. The moon are these emotional needs. Pluto runs deep. This is very favorable for some deep introspective thinking, meditation, having profound, heartfelt conversations, great for counseling. But the moon will then go void of course from noon to 4:14 p.m. Pacific time. That's when the moon is no longer making any aspects to other planets, so the energy tends to be more flat. You don't want to launch any important new projects during the moon void, of course, but come 4:14 p.m. Pacific time, the moon leaves Taurus and goes into Gemini. So you'll see a big shift Saturday evening, because Taurus is more this grounded, sensible, steady energy. When it goes into Gemini, the public response is all this being more talkative, more restless, more wanting to run errands. There's a lot of mental busyness, a lot more wittiness, more interesting conversations. And then on Sunday, as the moon continues in Gemini, bringing a lot more of this mental interest. But early morning, 6 to 8 a.m. Pacific time, the moon will be in harmony with expansive Jupiter. Jupiter, it can indicate being of expansiveness, traveling. And so being a Sunday, early Sunday in the day for most of you, could be a good day to be heading to the airport and going on your trip for the holidays. Or this could be a good time for making travel plans. Jupiter also represents higher education, so that you might be feeling more motivated, more inspired to be making educational plans or doing a lot of reading or studying. But overall, Sunday will be an optimistic day That's the best of Jupiter. So I want to thank you for tuning in. I hope to see you next week with my next segment. Until then, be safe and well.